but it wasn't in God's time, and the glory wouldn't have gone to God. And when Jason asked me, would I like to give my testimony, I mean, it was an instant yes, and it wasn't just me that answered it. It was God through me, and I know that now because I've come to accept God again. I was born in 1978. My father was in the Army. He met my mother in Berlin. And before I was born, he was already, his stint in the Army was completed. But my mom's entire family was over there, so we stayed over there with her family. My brother was born 4 years after I was, so he was born in 82. And in 1985, we moved over here to Florence, Alabama, where my dad's folks were from, which left my mom's, she was on her own over here. Over there, my dad had my mother and me and my brother and her family, but my mom, she, like me and my brother, didn't know any English. We just came over here. I was 7 years old. I had to go to the first grade again, which I've never had any trouble making friends or just, I've always been pretty outgoing, and so that really wasn't an issue. I imagine it took me a little while to learn English and all that, but I adjusted. My parents always worked hard. They don't have any addiction issues. They smoke cigarettes. They vape now, but I don't tell any people about that. But they always made sure we had everything we needed. We didn't have everything we wanted, but they always worked hard and to provide. My dad worked out of town a lot. He was a boil maker. My mom's a beautician, so she was always there. But like I said, growing up, we had a good upbringing. I was still in there. My mom's side of the family, we were all Catholic, and I called her on my way here because I wasn't for sure when I got baptized earlier this year. And she asked me why I was getting baptized again. I mean, I wanted to be baptized. I wanted to, go down in the old and come out with the new. I wanted to give my life over to God. And then she informed me then that I'd been baptized, and I didn't ask her then how long ago it was, but she told me it was before I turned a year old. So looking back, as you'll hear in some of my testimony, God's always been there. He really was, like Jason said, he's my rescue story. Growing up through high school, played ball, I've gotten mischievous trouble like any other kid. My junior year in high school, I got enough trouble to where they kicked me off the basketball team. And my folks sacrificed a lot. They sold the house that we lived in to a neighbor in good faith that neighbor would sell it back because we had to move to the city limits in order for me to play ball. And I learned in that age that I was able to manipulate. I don't know if at the time I knew it was manipulation, but I was able to get the things I wanted to get. I don't know if it was gift of gab or what, but life was always easy. We didn't have much money, but like friends and like things just came easy to me. Grades, I don't know, it was a gift, but it was a curse at the same time. So with that, with selling the house and going to a city school, they also uprooted my brother, which wasn't fair to him. 4 years younger than I was. He was in the 7th or 8th grade. They also took him with us, and we went to a city school. So he had to leave everything he knew behind as well, which we were in the same town, but when you're 14 and 15, when you go to one side of town to the next, we didn't have cell phones then, and he wasn't driving. So he had to make new friends, and that's kind of, I've walked in that my entire life as well. Like I've taken a lot of the blame for how he's turned out because I feel like if I didn't do the things that I did for him to be pulled from the life he knew, then he wouldn't have gotten in his mess. But God's forgiven me, and I've forgiven myself for that. So But anyways, through high school, I didn't use any drugs. I drank on occasion. Went to a little junior college and played ball, and that's where I started partying a little bit. I smoked a little bit of pot, but that was really the extent of it. I got married for the first time then. I think I was 21, and moved to Johnson City, Tennessee. And I guess looking back, like, I figured all this out this past year. Since I've gotten to know God, like, my entire life has come, like, for years I've wondered, like, why did this happen? Why did that happen? And since I've built my relationship with God, like, all those questions have been answered. Like, for years I didn't really think my addiction started until later in life, but when I got married the first time and we moved like 6.5 hours away from where we were at in Alabama, every other weekend I would drive home 6 hours so I could party with my buddies. And it was that I needed to fill that like, we drink and you know, smoke pot, and like I enjoyed that. I enjoyed that entirely too much, and it had a hold. It was one of the reasons why I got divorced the first time, because I didn't want to let that go. Because where we moved to, I was a stranger to the community we were at, and like I said, I didn't have trouble making friends, but I still had all my high school friends that, like, that's what we did, and like I didn't want to let go of that. I was addicted to it. So with my first divorce, the opiates was a really big thing then, just starting to boom, I guess you could say. And that's, I guess, was my first love that I, as far as drugs goes, like I could do anything, could talk to anybody, like it was a fix-all for everything. I was heartbroken over the divorce, even though I knew it was coming, and I basically forced her hand on it. It broke my heart because I wasn't the one that made the call, you know what I mean? Even though I may not have wanted to be in the marriage, because she made that call, like it did something to me, I don't know, but pills fixed that for me. And it moved to the IV use pretty quickly, and that was when the gates of hell really opened up. My life went from going down the right path to going down the left path. Like, no amount of money I made was good enough. Like, I started working out of town and had a good job, but it was always, every dollar I made was always spent. I was a functioning addict. I could still manipulate, and like if I needed to borrow money, whatever, like I always figured it out. Like most of us that were addicts were addicts. We figure it out. May not be able to pay the light bill or go get a gallon of milk, but Amen. We're gonna figure out how to get high. And the first time that I now know that God really had his hand on my life was, I had gotten in some trouble in Bradenton, Florida. We were remodeling Walmarts, and they'd given me keys to the pharmacy to go in and do like a punch list, just like touch up stuff. Well, after a couple weeks of that, my boss flew down, and they had me on camera in the narcotics bin, and he was going to fly me from Tampa to Birmingham, and he told me if I went to get some help that I could come back to work. This was on a Saturday night. On Sunday, I got to Birmingham Sunday. I got a hotel room, and I was probably 24, 25 years old. And I guess depression has always been a big thing too. And I now know that the drugs was the cause of depression. I wasn't using the drugs because I was depressed. Like the drugs were what caused my depression. But I got a hotel room, and I decided that I was going to end my life. I had a pocket full of pills, went and bought some more, and I called my mother. I had a hotel room, and this was before caller ID. And I called my mom. I told her that I loved her, and I don't remember what all I said, but she got the point, and I hung up the phone. And I don't know how she did it, but a few like, I don't know, a little while later, there was a knock on the hotel room door, and I went to the door, and it was the paramedics. And my mom had found where I was at. I don't know if she called hotels or what. But she told them that I was attempting suicide, what I'd done. And I was over the age of 18, so I did allow them to come in and look around the room. But I wasn't too far gone yet. Like, I was able to tell them that nothing was the matter, and I sent them on their way. I lay down in bed, and I woke up at UAB Hospital the next day. They had come back and kicked the door in and took me to the hospital and pumped my stomach, and before they told me that I would, if they hadn't come back, that I would have died then. And like I said, looking back, I know, like, I chalked it all up to luck or a curse, I don't know, but I chalked it all up to anything but God at the time. The second time that I had OD'd, I was in the bedroom, and before I met Jessica, I moved to Elkhart, Indiana from Alabama. I did some work up there, and I have a son up there. So I moved up there, I thought, and that was another geographical change. That was going to be my fix-it. But it just made things worse, really. But I had one biological son and two kids with the mother of my son that I was raising because they didn't know their father. And Brent was probably 11 or 12 years old, and he come down to the bedroom, and I was blue. And he called the ambulance, or he went and got Mom, and she called the ambulance. But my mom immediately drove up from Alabama, and they told my parents and my son that if he hadn't found me then, that I would, like, in fact, that time I was DOA, dead on arrival, when I got to the hospital. Again, I chalked it up to luck, but like, I know, like, God's got a big plan, and like, I'm really starting to see that, and like, I give him all the glory now, you know what I mean? I should have the entire time, but like, looking back, he's just given me so many chances. But the third time, I had caught some charges. It was always the opiate addiction. It led me to heroin. When I got to Indiana, it made it worse because I had trouble finding the pills, and that's where heroin was prevalent there. And it was cheaper at first, but I was able to function. Like, I've always had a job, always work, but the times in between, like, crap hitting the fan would be less and less. Like, something would happen, I'd go to rehab for a month, I'd get out, and I'd make it a year. Something would happen, I'd go to rehab for a month, I'd get out, and I'd make it for 8 months. It always seemed shorter and shorter in between. While I was on my way to rehab in Kentucky, I was going to a mission teams facility, and I got pulled over and caught. I think I had 4 felony charges, but one of them stuck. But while I was in jail, had my phone, and all the numbers that I had were on my phone. Like, I didn't know numbers. I just didn't remember phone numbers. And I was in the middle of nowhere. I told nobody, like, nobody knew that I was going to rehab. So like, I'm in the county jail, they wouldn't give me my phone in order to where I could call my mom or anybody, and nobody knew where I was at. So, and the way it is nowadays, like, you get a call, but it's collect. Like, they didn't give me my free call, but I didn't have any phone numbers. So I had been in the county jail for like 4 weeks, no mail, because nobody knew where I was at. I was indigent, and if I had stamps, I don't remember it, but I had somebody pop my razor, and I had gone up to the showers, and I cut my arms to where I don't know, I was ready to go. Like, all the problems that been in my life have always been self-inflicted. Like, I don't blame anybody else. Like, all my issues have been drugs, and drugs that I chose to do. Um, but, like, and I'll go to using, and then something will happen, and I get depressed. And, well, I never gave God a chance. Like I said, I never gave him any credit for the times that he had saved me. I just chalked it up, like I said, to either luck or a curse. And so I'd come arms in the showers, and I can remember them carrying me out on the stretcher, and they're doing a little thing, and that because I bled for a while, and they said that they couldn't get a pulse because, like, I had lost so much blood. And when I got to the hospital, I was finally able to make a phone call, and I called my mom, and Mom's always been there. Like, I said my parents have never had addiction problems, and they've always worked really hard to see that me and my brother have everything we needed. Like, they've really been through a lot. And they try the tough love thing, but Mom's always been there. Anyway, she drove up to the hospital, and we got everything worked out. I got out of jail on probation. My mom had written the judge like this 8-page letter. Said that I needed long-term treatment. And I was just sat in county for like 6 months. And long-term treatment, I don't know. So they were like, well, he was on his way to this place in Kentucky for 8 months, so we'll just go ahead and give him 2 years probation and send him there. Again, these are all all my rehabilitations have been faith-based. And when I go, like, my intentions are always good, they're pure, like, I'm gonna do good, I'm gonna do right. But I never, and I'd read my Bible, and I would pray, go to praise and worship, and do all that, but I never really accepted God. Like, I don't want to say I used him as a way to please everybody, but I never gave him the chance. I never invited him in, and he never let go either. But I ended up getting kicked out of that place, and I was at my parents' in Alabama with this little probation violation. And my dad thinks the SWAT team's going to come kicking his door 6 states away. So they talked me into going and turning myself in Indiana. I did that. I ended up having to go to prison for a little while. And that was really nowhere to get clean or I don't know. I don't want to say it made things worse, but it didn't help things either. I got out. I was back in Indiana this last year and functioning addict again. And my addiction went from, I was still using drugs, but it was like I had that under control, if that's possible. But I got to where, like, adrenaline was a big thing, and I would go do dirt at night, like robbing places, not like a gunpoint or anything, but taking things that weren't mine. And I caught a few charges, and for the first time, I sat in bed and I was thinking, because I didn't have, like, something was missing, and it started coming together, like I could feel it inside, that, like, there was a hole, like, what am I trying to fill? Why am I not happy? Like, even if, like, I was doing all this wrong, but life was still, like, things were okay, but something was missing, and I didn't, at that time I still didn't know what it was, but I knew that when I went to these mission team places, to this faith-based rehabilitation, I knew that there was a peace there that I had never had anywhere else. Like, I could go, and if I sat in praise and worship, even if I was just sitting there singing and not paying attention, thinking about other things, that I had a peace. Like, I can't even describe it. It was just like I was at peace. So I picked up the phone myself and called, which I had to call myself every time, but it was always under somebody else's thumb. Like, the folks would, like, you got to go get help if you want to come back, or the boss would tell me I got to go get help. So I always did it pleasing other people, but this time I called, like, I wanted change. I wanted something to be different, and I still didn't know that at this time that it was going to be God. I just knew that I needed to get away, and I wanted that peace that I had each time I went to one of these faith-based rehabilitation places. So on June the 13th, I went to Brazil, Indiana, the House of Hope, where I met Jessica. And I gave it a chance. I actually opened my Bible, and instead of writing punishment verses, like I was reading it, I was looking for different scriptures. Like I'd look words in the back that had something to do with things going on like that day, and like I'd look them up. I don't know, it was cool that there were things in there that I could relate to things going on in my life. And I don't remember the date, she probably does, that we got baptized together. And when that happened, like this whole world of like confirmation things started happening. Like I started remembering these times that I OD'd or attempted suicide, which before that I hadn't thought of them in years. Like it just happened, and like I said, I chalked it up to luck or something else. But after I got baptized, like all these answers started coming to me. And he was letting me know that he was there. Like he had his hand on me the entire time. He has a purpose and a plan for me that's bigger than anything that I could ever imagine. And like it gives me such joy nowadays. Like we sit down with the kids, and even the oldest one, and we get in our Bible and like we have little Bible studies. And like even if I'm not paying attention for a few minutes, to look over at one of the kids and see them that they're soaking it in, you know what I mean? Like my parents tried with me, but like I bucked it from the time I could walk. And to see the kids like walk around the house and say I love Jesus, or like before that would have meant nothing. It would have gone in one ear and out the other. But like today, like I have, some days I have to ride on other people's faith, but today my faith is beyond anything that I've ever had. I have a peace about myself that's beyond anything that I've ever had. A hope for the future through Jesus Christ. And knowing that as long as I stay on God's path and do the things that He's going to have me do, that life is going to be good. I mean, we still have our valleys, and I thank Him for those. A couple weeks ago, you said something about when you're going through those valleys, He's carrying you. And I've thought about that a lot. And I put that with so much that even if I'm having a bad day or like I'm being tested, like God's carrying me through those tests. And it took 40 years to get there, but I know that as long as I stay with God, He's never left me through all the dirt and all the times that I gave glory to the enemy. Like God was there the entire time, and I hate it took me so long to get back, but His plan is perfect, and I just know that if I stay in His Word and lay down my life every day and pick up the cross and walk for Him, that life is going to be good, and that doing things like this, you know, I can help one person or this person, or
Amen.
It's just and it gives me joy, a joy that I haven't had. Like it's beyond any high.
Mm-hmm.
It's wonderful, and I appreciate you guys.
Amen.